Howdy folks, Uncle Bill here, back with the 13 horrors for Halloween. And do you like haunted house movies? I know you do. Do you like Karen Black? Sure you do. Do you like Oliver Reed and Burgess Meredith and Dan Curtis? Well, you're going to love this next film all the shit, because this one is Burnt Offerings, a rarely discussed horror gem from the 1970s, 1976, featuring Oliver Reed, Karen Black, Burgess Meredith, and a ton of more, including Betty Davis. This one was directed by Dan Curtis, the same guy that brought you the Dark Shadows series and Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black. It's your quintessential haunted house movie with a little bit of a twist for the 70s, I guess, because I mean they really did the haunted house stuff to death in the 50s. Couple, along with their son, are renting a summer vacation home. This is actually a summer vacation mansion from Burgess Meredith and his sister, I believe, who I don't know her name in the film, but they're amazed that they get such a good deal on the house. I mean, they get it for basically nothing, and so Oliver Reed is ecstatic. He moves in. Right off the bat, you start to sense that something's not exactly right, because I believe it's Oliver Reed his character starts to change, and he was once like a loving, caring father, and he starts to notice that he's becoming more angry and aggressive and mean toward his son. And also, whenever they find any objects from around the house, like Oliver Reed finds a pair of glasses from around the house, and if they use any of this stuff, it starts to have an effect on their behavior as well, which is kind of odd. And Karen Black is slowly but surely, from being a devoted wife and a loving mother to severely obsessed with keeping the house clean and up to date and fixing anything that happens with the house. And Betty Davis is in probably the absolute creepiest part of the movie. She is the grandmother in the film, and she becomes infirmed with a back problem, and there's a whole sequence which I never could really figure out if it was supposed to be a dream sequence or like a real sequence where this hearse driver visits the house, and holy shit, that's one of the scariest. It's so scary because of how well it's done and how well Dan Curtis was always kind of the king of semi-cheesy / gothic horror films and series and stuff like that. So he really kicked up the gothic and nightmarish aspects of that whole sequence. And Betty Davis, being the actress that she is, she really seems like she's suffering through this, and it is a terrifying part. And the ending of the film, it slowly builds up to this ending where Karen Black, I don't want to give it away, but there's an iconic shot at the end of the film that is if you're a fan of Curtis's style and that style of suspense, tension, and kind of otherworldly, supernatural stuff coming to haunt normal people, the ending of that movie is just fucking spine-tingling, for lack of a better word. It is completely off the chain, and really nobody talks about this film at all. Like, that's one of the things that I wanted to do with this, really, is to bring up films that not a lot of people talk about or talk about in passing. And I never hear anybody talk about this film. I guess even for people that are fans of the 70s style stuff, this is kind of off the radar because it's not gory. It's really not action-packed. It's more of a drama. But very few films have I ever seen that were able to pull off the haunted house motif better than this film, and I think it has a lot to do with how many great actors and actresses there are, as well as Dan Curtis being the kind of like the crown prince of horror films, and that he never really took a lot of stuff seriously. There's always like a twist of black humor in everything that he did, but the cinematography and the way that he was able to turn the house itself into another character in this film is just genius. Because I know Paranormal Activity is out right now, and people have been raving about that film, and it seems like in that film there's a gimmick that part of it is the way that it's shot, and that the camera itself becomes kind of like another character in the film. But in Burnt Offerings, the house is really the bad guy, and it's not like in like a slasher movie you've got an identifiable bad guy that that's chasing you around and stuff. But in this, it's the whole thing. It can be anything in the house. It's almost like the Amityville, like what they did with Amityville after the second sequel, or the third sequel actually, where they just started picking shit out of the house to make it haunted. But you come to find out that there's something going on with this house, and anything in the house can be a danger. And I don't want to give any away more than that. Great film. You wouldn't think that I would like this film, because I like stuff that's very hyper violent and gory, and I like a lot of comedy in my horror too, and this really doesn't have a lot of those elements in it. But a good film is a good film. A good story is a good story. Good acting is good acting. And like I've always said, there's certain universal things about good films that always translate no matter who's watching them. And Burnt Offerings is a good film, so check that shit out. I'll be back soon.